Hello again, everyone. This is Michael Cheek with Mike'sGuitarLessons.com. Right now, we're going to continue on with Funk number 49 by the James Gang, and in this one, we're going to learn the riff that's used throughout pretty much the entire song. We do have some other parts to learn, but this main riff is the part most people want to learn and the part that's most recognizable from the song. So we're going to learn that, and I'll probably make another video to finish out the song. But let's go ahead and just learn that main riff. This flows right out of the intro pretty much. You already played the intro if you watched the first video. It's kind of like, actually it's been a while since I played it, but it's like... Okay, and then what happens is they kind of use that little chord right there that you end on as kind of the beginning of that riff. So what I'm going to do is show you the beginning of that riff, which kind of starts with that chord. But the first time you go into the riff, you're ending the intro like that and you slide that down. You normally don't have to. So let's go ahead and start off with that. See, this riff that you're going to learn here sounds like this. And there's a couple of times in the song where he changes up the rhythm a little bit and plays it a little more like this. Okay, but we're going to mainly concentrate on the original way here because he does it this way almost the entire time. So let's start off with that riff. This is probably the part you're wanting to play from the song. So what you're going to do is start off, it's a little like that last chord in the intro, except, let me see, what are you going to play here? You're just going to play 3 strings here, and the 3 strings you're going to play are the D string, the G string, and the B string. So that's the 2nd string from the bottom, 3rd string from the bottom, and the 4th string from the bottom. Now, what you're going to be pressing down is here. Your first finger is going to be pressing down on the 5th fret on the B string, the G string, and the D string, like I said. And once you play those 3 notes, your middle finger is going to hammer in the in the 6th fret of the G string. So, okay. So real closely, if you get a close-up look at that, okay, I'm playing 5th fret on the D string, hammering 5 to 6 on the G, and playing 5th fret on the B string. Okay? And it just falls right into that riff. Okay? So anyways, that's the very first chord you play. And then a big part of making this riff sound correct is the chucking that's involved. If you don't know already, chucking is basically where you're going to mute your strings with your left hand and strum them anyways, and you'll just get that kind of percussive sound that it's really not necessarily a note or anything. It's just an added layer of sound. You hear it in a lot of songs, but that's basically all you're doing. Okay, is just muting all the strings and strumming all of them, and that's a chuck. So what you're going to do is play that first chord, okay, and then you're going to chuck a few times. So it's going to go, okay. That's the actual rhythm of the chucking. So you're going to go down, up, up. So, and after you play that 3rd chuck in a row, you're going into your next chord. Okay, so it's. Okay, now what I'm playing there is, it may look like I'm playing more notes than I am, but I'm actually only playing the D string and the G string with my 3rd finger in the 7th fret. Okay, so that's the 7th fret right there, playing the D string and the G string. Okay, and I just play them together. Now I use one finger like that because this is a riff that you're moving around a lot, and using 2 can possibly slow you down a little bit. So I like to use one finger. You could use your pinky and 3rd finger, but I like just my 3rd finger. Okay, so putting that together, it's going to be okay, and then you go back to this first chord. Okay, again that was 5 on the D, the G, and the B, and then hammer on the G with your middle finger in the 6th fret. Okay, so now we've gotten to this. you're going to do after that, as you saw, you're going to do the same amount of chucking, same kind of chucking pattern. Okay, so, and what I did there is the next part of the riff. So, now after that, you're going to come here to the 7th fret with your first finger. Okay? Now what I'm playing here is that. And what I'm doing is I'm barring in the 7th fret with my first finger, and really I tend to bar all the way across 5 strings, but I'm only playing 3 strings here. I'm holding down the D string, the G string, and the B string, and the 7th fret. But once I strum those, I hammer with my 3rd finger and my middle finger. My 3rd finger hammers in the 9th fret of the D string, like that, and my middle finger hammers in the 8th fret of the B string. Okay? And the G string note stays the same. Okay? So, it sounds like that. Okay? So throwing that into the rest of the riff, it's going to sound like this. Oops, sorry, let me try that again. Okay, just like that. Now after that, pick these fingers back up and strum the 3 notes again. Okay? And then you're going to strum them one more time, just 5th fret on the D, G, and B. So, you strum it once and hammer, and then pick those fingers up and strum them again, D string, G string, and B string, and then strum it again. So, okay, so, oh sorry, let me start it over. And then I have a chuck right there. Okay, now the only thing I left off there was after you play this, I got my chuck as I move back down to where my 3rd finger is at the 7th fret, and I play that chord we had earlier, 7th fret on the D string and 7th fret on the G string. Okay, play that chord, and then you go back to this old chord you've been playing the whole time, which was 5th fret on the D, G, and B string, and you hammer with your middle finger on the 6th fret of the G string. Okay, now that's not the end of the riff. We've got just a little bit more to do, but let's carry it on through that part. Okay, one more time, a little closer so you can see. Okay, throwing that together a little faster, it's going to sound like this. Alright, now the only thing we need to add is the little end part where we're going to add an open A to it, but we're going to have some chucking. So the entire thing is going to sound like this. Okay, now what I did there is chuck twice. Okay, grab all the strings, chuck all the way across, down and then up, and then you're going to come down again, but when you do, you're going to position your fingers to where the only thing that's going to ring is this A string, the 5th string from the bottom. You got to do an expert muting job here because you only want that one note to come out, but you don't want to have to just pluck it like that. You want to keep the rhythm going, so you want to hit it like that and have the A string the only thing that comes out. So these fingers have to lay across the E, B, G, and D string to where they're muted. The A is open, and your thumb has to mute the thick E string. So you just want to practice holding all those strings and letting the A string be the only one that rings. Okay? So you just throw that onto the end of it. Just like that. just throw that onto the end of it. 1, 2, chucks, and then it's kind of a short note too. You don't have to let it ring. You just mute it right off the bat. You stop it from ringing with your left hand. Okay? Yeah, that's right. Okay, now that's that riff. Man, it's a lot of fun to play. I hope you get this one down because it's a great one to play. The only thing you have to worry about is a little later in the song. There's a little bridge. It's not very long. I wouldn't necessarily call it a solo because it's hard to call it that for me because I think of a solo as a long, drawn out lead guitar part, but it's kind of short. So I'll save that for another video if I can get to it. But the only other thing you have to worry about in the song that has to do with this riff is where he changes the rhythm a little bit. Like I said earlier, he kind of just waits a little longer to play one of the parts of the riff, and instead of playing it like this, he plays it a little bit different. He waits a little longer on one part. If you can tell what's happening there, he waits a little longer right here. Okay? The notes are the same, but he waits a little longer. Which means he has to come in quicker with that part. Okay, just a little different on the rhythm. Now, I'm going to make another video for this other part. I'll go ahead and preview it for you, though. The other part we're going to have to learn for the song is going to sound like this. And you do that again, and then you're going to go to this next part. Okay, now that's what we'll learn in the next video. Get this riff down first, though. It's a great one. The next part's not too hard if you're used to playing that kind of thing, so it ought to be pretty easy.